Hi everyone, Armored Pants here, and I have a short video for you which is an introduction to the Japanese line. It's like a pre-guide guide. And you may ask, well, why do we need this? Well, let's talk about Japanese tanks, because in my opinion, they're the most difficult to play. And there's a few reasons for this. I mean, firstly, there's a single line, there's no variety, so you just gotta go with what's in front of you. So it's not like sushi, not much variety. And they're all mediums, so there's no lights or heavies, so you need to be a good medium tank player. And as we've discussed in the medium tank guide, this is one of the more challenging types of tanks to play. But unlike many mediums like the Germans or Russians, they have little or no armour, not even on the front, and they're easily penned. And easily penned by HE by many things. The gun is average, with weak pen, weak alpha rolls, so there's nothing spectacular about the guns. Not one of them has a really great gun. They're not fast, which is really unusual for mediums, and some heavies are even faster or as fast as them, and they're not agile at all, and they're never best in class, and in my opinion not even in the top 5, not even the top 5 medium tanks per tier, never mind top 5 per tier. So you might be wondering, well, this doesn't sound very optimistic. Well, and it's not, and that's why I thought we should have this pre-guide guide. So let's have a look at some of the tanks here. We're looking at the lower tiers. We're going up to the Chi-Had and Chi-He in tier 4, Chi-Nu's tier 5. And the lower tiers, 1 and 2, they're actually not that bad. They can compete with all tanks. But as you go up to tiers, particularly up to tier 6 and 7, and I mean tier 7 is a dirt box. It's basically a tier 5 tank in tier 7, and if you're up tiered particularly, you will get smashed in this thing. The STA-1 in tier 8 is basically a light tank, with all of the disadvantages of that, but none of the advantages like active camo, better view range, etc. Type 61 is kinda okay, but the cupola sticking out is just a massive target, and it's a killer for this tank, and it has no armour. I mean, if you come up against a T-54 on this, Ceteris Paribus, all things being equal, you will lose. STB-1 in tier 10 is not a bad tank. It's decent, but again, it's inferior to its peers. It has nothing on Object 140 or T-62A. I mean, these tanks will just smash this thing all day long. So you're kind of wondering then, like, what is the point? Well, we'll get on to that in a second. But, you know, you just need to be aware before you go down this line that you will be challenged. It is very difficult. And you're going to be driving medium tanks that in many ways lack all of the things that make medium tanks good. I mean, they're usually slow. They're not manoeuvrable or agile. It feels like you're driving them in mud. They're just not responsive. This is one of the best actually of the Japanese line, the premium, or it's collectible now, the Panzer IV Anko. There's also a version of the Hetzer there, the Hetzer Kame. I have a video on that. I'll be putting up, by the way, videos also on the collectible tanks, the Kuromura Mina, this one, the tier 6 heavy, the Mini Tiger, and the Panzer Anko. You can see there that it looks like a German cross, but it's actually Japanese writing in it. Well, you can have a look at those too. But just overall, the tanks don't play as well as other tanks in their class, their peers, and you will struggle a bit. And this makes this line very challenging. So please do not start with this line as your first line. Go German or Russian, thereafter go British or American. Even the French line, which I've recently done the first 5 tiers on, is much better than this. Much easier, much more forgiving. These tanks are not forgiving at all. You know, and as I said about playing a medium tank, they are slow and cumbersome. It feels like they're in treacle, trying to circle a death, trying to do brawling, trying to face hug, sorry, not face hug, but you know, hug with these tanks is really difficult. So they're tough tanks to play. They don't have anything that stands out about them. They're just pretty bland. Now they're tolerable if you're top tier, but if you are up tier, they are a dog. Particularly that tier 7. I mean, if you come up against an IS-3 or something like that, you are buggered. Ceteris Paribus, against a peer, you will lose. If you're, for example, in the STA-1, you come up against a, let's say, T-44, you're going to lose. Tier 7 is the weakest, and it's the weakest of a weak bunch. So why play them? What is the point, you're probably asking? Well, there's a few points to it, right? And let's expand on those a little bit. Firstly, don't, if they're your first line. Get good with mediums, get experienced before you even think about this. But if you're good with mediums and you've good experienced players and you've done a few other lines and want a challenge, then the Japanese line is something to really look into, because you will be challenged. Also, if you want some variety, I mean, not in the line itself, I told you there's none, but if you want to spice things up, to play something different, something that you haven't played before, then why not? Because you will be challenged, absolutely. You will be frustrated, you will maybe bounce the phone or the iPad off the wall, but if you can master these tanks, then you are 100% sure you are a good player, because they're unforgiving, nothing spectacular about them. So if you do well in these tanks, then you can say to yourself, pat yourself on the back and say you are a good player. So that's a brief intro to the Japanese line. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope it makes a bit of sense for you. All the tanks are going to be up on channel in the next 10 days or so, so keep an eye out. And all that remains to say is pants off.